Good morning. Pardon me. April 24, 2017, regularly scheduled Commissioners Court's call to order. We'll start with the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and I believe Ms. Hilton will have the invocation.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the wonderful blessings you bestow upon us every day. We thank you for the mercies that you give us every morning and that are anew. We pray for all those who serve in the armed forces and all who stand in harm's way. And we ask for your blessing this morning in our fellowship together. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, good morning. Please turn off your cell phones and pagers except for emergency personnel and law enforcement. Item 3, discuss take action on minutes from April 10th, 2017.
Judge, I'm noticing on the minutes that there at the end, there was, let's see here,
Yep.
close to 42.
Okay, at 42.
I'm sorry, 47. After we came back into executive session, there were some more comments regarding the nuclear waste, and they're not listed here.
No, they were repertory questions, I think.
They're under number 6.
They're under, oh, so you moved them up to number 6. Okay.
So
Allison,
everything's
thank you.
together.
I'm sorry.
Everything's together. The repertory comments and all are under 6.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay,
I didn't notice
thank you.
that. I appreciate that.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from April 10th.
all right. Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Number 4, discuss take action on court fees for county and district clerk's offices. Ms. Haley?
Yes, good morning. These are the fees, these are the fees for March of 2017 for the district and county clerk's office.
Okay.
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Number 5, discuss take action on finding funding sources for travel funds for the district clerk, county clerk to travel to Dallas and visit co-file facilities. They do not, this wasn't a planned visit, but I think it's important that these two electeds go to Dallas, look at co-file, who is the archivist that we're discussing, archiving the remainder of the county records. They currently do work for the county, but the process and how you might access those files as they're being archived, these two need to know about. So that's the reason for this.
Yes, so I've been speaking to Stacy with co-file, and we've scheduled to, tentatively scheduled to go visit them on Monday. Well, we fly out Monday, I believe it's May the 1st, and then we would do the tour on Tuesday. They would pick us up at the airport, and they're willing to pay our hotel stay. We just need to get the flights out.
That would be a question for Russell. Russell,
Okay.
this is a text-mass contract. There's no bidding or anything. You have some advice on that?
And so, explain that again. They'll be paying for your hotel?
They said they can. They said if it's an issue, they don't have to, but,
Yeah, I don't know that would be a good idea.
Okay.
I think it'd be better if the county paid.
okay.
Okay, so the consideration is airfare and
Yes, I'd like to take my two chief deputies, Ana Almuina and Angie Montemayor, and my assistant chief on the vital side, Kelly Kendrick. I believe Ross wants to take two of his ladies. I'm sorry, I don't know who.
And the only source that I'm aware of is contingency.
So you're taking 5 total?
No, I'm taking 3. Oh, and Ross is taking 2.
I think there's 6 total traveling.
Well, it's 7 total with...
7?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'd make the motion. Do you know how much it's going to be?
No, sir, I don't. I'm sorry. I can, well, I can get somebody to look into that while we're, and bring it back if you'd like.
I think that'd be great.
Okay,
You could do that for us.
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
But you have a motion that's active. You want to table your motion till we come back?
Let me table it till we find out how much.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
If you can do that, Allison, we'll come back to it today. All right. Item 6, discuss take action on closing Fairview Cemetery to the public Mondays through Thursdays for road repair. Tim?
Yes, sir. Next Monday, okay, I'm checking with Road and Bridge, make sure we're still on for next Monday. Next Monday, they're going to start a massive road repair at the cemetery. It needs it. It's in grave disrepair. I had to throw one in.
Jeez.
And the problem we have is the public comes in to visit and they park on the roads. So it would be a constant battle trying to move people and that type of stuff. But Road and Bridge works Monday through Thursday, so we would be open to the public Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until, and just do this until they're finished. It may take 6 weeks, 8, we're not sure exactly. We're thinking no more than 2.5 months, 2 months? 2 months that this would be done. We ran an ad in the paper this weekend. We're going to run an ad in the paper next weekend to let people know we're putting up signs on the fences so people will know why we're closing. I just wanted to bring it to y'all's attention because I'm sure you will get calls.
I will get calls. Can you send me a copy of that, of the ad that you put in the paper?
I'm sure we can, yes. Let me, Barbara has it.
Thank you.
And we can send that, and that way, then Road and Bridge won't have to detour around cars, and we won't have people complaining that their cars got, dirty or anything like that. And it'll just make for more continuity of work.
Can they still access it by foot? Can we park outside somewhere and walk through?
That's a good question.
We hadn't thought about that. The only gate that they'll be able to come in would be the backside gate. We're going to be open for funerals. I mean, funerals will come in, they'll have to access whichever gate they're not working near, and we'll reroute the funerals into the cemetery. We hadn't thought about opening it for foot traffic, but we can think about that if necessary.
I don't know.
Mother's Day and Father's Day is coming up.
Right,
so
and we're going to work around those.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we're going to work around those.
And also May 10th. May 10th is Mother's Days in Mexico, so I just want to make sure that it's open on that day as well,
Okay.
that it's accessible.
We'll work around those days if we
Please,
have,
thank you.
Just a word of information that David and some engineers have offered. There are some old headstones, very old headstones, that we will move out of the way as best we can. If they're damaged, it certainly is our responsibility there.
Right.
However, there is one particular one, and you need to speak with David for the details, that is substantial in its presence, and you could actually walk through it, as I understand, walk under it. And on inspection of that, that is simply put together sand.
Right, it's very dangerous, and he's discussed it with the owners of the monument, or whatever you want to call it, that they need to have it professionally repaired or take it down.
So
Because it's very dangerous.
as far as the county's concerned, while it is an emotional item, in light of some action in Ector County where a child was killed walking through it and a tombstone fell on him. It behooves us to make the corrections at this time.
And that's another reason we're going to close Monday through Thursday, is because there are some headstones we're going to have to set out of the way for them to do their work and put them back, and we don't want people to come in and see us rearranging headstones.
Right.
And just a piece of information also, we have sought, Christie and Tim sought someone to do this type of work because there's smaller roads, narrow in some areas, and we have sought for more than a year companies to do it, and after they look at it, they just say no.
A lot of them don't want the liability of the tombstones and unmarked graves, and that type of stuff. And Felipe and his guys stepped up and said, we can do it. We may have to rent some smaller equipment, but we can get it done. So,
Tim, if it's going to be close to the public, and I like what Scott said, I mean, can it be open at least foot traffic for the public? And if not, just please make sure that on those dates, May 10th also, and then whenever Mother's Day is, I guess it's the second weekend of
right. Well, we're going to be open on weekends, all
Well, May
except
10th
Friday,
is-
Saturday, and
May
Sunday.
10th is Wednesday,
Right. Okay. So May 10th would be
Wednesday. So
an exception, but Mother's Day is on a weekend, and we're open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
That's fine,
Just
just
like
as long as you
normal.
have May 10th open, just in case if anybody wants to go out there, then, because I understand the liabilities that we have, if we've got people working out there, I understand that, but also want to make sure that it's accessible on certain days.
Any holidays that fall in there will be open because Road and Bridge won't be working. Anytime they're not working, they'll be removing their equipment to as inconspicuous as possible so we can let the public in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? So he's asked for a motion, and
I'll make the motion to close Fairview Cemetery to public Monday through Thursday, despite the attempt at bad humor.
second.
a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 7, discuss take action on mass gathering permit for Crude Fest. Cody, you're back again.
Back. How are y'all?
Fine.
Good.
Good. I'm just here representing Town Square live events and asking for the permit for Crude Fest.
Tell us about it this year. How many acts? You going to sell alcohol? What's your safety precautions and your sanitation precautions?
I believe we have 20 artists coming in this year, starting on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Everyone will move out on Sunday. It's BYOB.
So no activity on Sunday.
No activity on Sunday, just to move out.
Okay.
There's no alcohol being sold. It's all BYOB. Everything is pretty much following suit with the previous years as far as I've been letting them.
How about restrooms?
Restrooms, Ameriflush is providing all the porta potties.
In proper numbers? I mean, you have large crowds, so you
Yes,
got
sir.
more than 10.
I believe they have 100 porta potties coming.
Okay. And what about EMTs and fire rescues?
Yes, sir. I believe they've worked with.
Okay, now you can't believe. You got to be able to tell us.
I understand.
Okay.
As far as I know, they have. I can't say for certain. I'm not a part of the festival as much as I have been in the past.
Yeah. Okay.
It does say here on your application that EMS fire on site for duration of event, Midland County Sheriff and third-party security companies will also be placed in venue to ensure health and safety. So I see it described here. One question that I do have is, man, you've got on here, you've got about 15,000 people max. How do y'all take, I'm just curious, how do y'all take those numbers? Like, do you count as people come in, or?
Well, obviously, we sell all the tickets online, so we have a pre-number of how many tickets have been sold before the event starts, and then we have wristbands that are able to be, subtracted from on how many we've sold at the gate.
Do y'all ever reach that number? I'm just curious, how many people have you had, for example, last year? Do you know?
I don't know for certain, but I know we've never reached that number.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Sharon, you got all the information you need on this?
Yes, sir, we've discussed it with them, and it is satisfactory.
Okay. And Mr. Little? Looks like you got a hit on your hands.
They have met the requirement for EMTs. Northeast Fire Department's going to have an ambulance out there, and they'll have some EMTs.
Okay.
And other than that, I haven't been able to talk to Cody much about it, but I think everything is being met.
That's the application. Has it been paid?
Yes, sir. It was
Okay.
paid 3 weeks ago, something like that, before last court.
All right, very good. Any questions of Cody or the folks who are actually putting it on, Town Square Live Events of Texas? If not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Okay,
Second.
have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Cody, thanks for coming.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thanks, Cody.
Good deal. Number 8, discuss take action on library donations. Mr. T.
Judge, Commissioners, just monetary, no material, you should have backup for the donations. I'm sorry, I said that backwards.
Right.
No monetary, just material, you should have backup.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Number 9, acknowledge donation from Rachel Lyman Trust of $3,312.
The Rachel Lyman Trust has been something previous to even my tenure. She left in a bequest in her trust. We get a percentage depending on what the market does, but we get a check every year and it's always well appreciated. We typically push it towards a project that maybe is not funded in the regular budget or something we're trying to work toward. This money is currently not yet dedicated, but it is something we budget for or attempt to budget for closely each year, and it goes in just the general donation for the library.
John, am I correct? They've never designated how we use it? Just
Correct, sir.
Use it in the library?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Motion to acknowledge?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Number 10, acknowledge donation of Merlin LCD Enhanced Vision Machine from Diana Powell.
Louise Harris was actually a longtime library user who eyesight deteriorated in her last years, and she had this machine to help. It's just basically a really fancy magnifier, book magnifier. And so when she passed away, her daughter, Miss Powell, asked if we would like it, and it's actually something we've been considering. We don't have vision impaired options. We have large print books, but beyond that, if you need more assistance than that, we've not been able to provide that. So this was a welcome, unexpected treat. And so we'll plaque it. I've already talked to purchasing. They're going to tag it, but just wanted to let y'all know that it is out at Centennial, currently in the genealogy section. I don't know that that's its final resting place, but it is a nice addition for those that have vision impairments.
Okay.
John, will there be any way for people to know that that's out there?
Yes, sir. Once court accepts it and we get it tagged, we will go through and do some sort of either mass email or out in the newsletter or social media, something like that,
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Make a motion to accept this generous donation.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. John, you'll take care of the thank you letter.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Number 11, acknowledge unique management statistic report.
You should have just a 2-sheet backup, hopefully. The second sheet, as you know, we were one of the first public libraries in Texas to transition from fine to fineless. One of the challenges was, though, is what is the teeth in getting our materials back and getting the county assets back, which are the materials. And so the court at that time, we went through a third-party organization that does collections specifically for public libraries. And I just wanted to show you that we feel like that is a good investment. That last sheet shows that we have almost a 5-to-1 ratio. Our invoiced amount in that duration is just over $30,000, and we've recovered $157,000 in materials and money. So it is working. fight this battle in-house, which is nice because we just don't have the manpower to follow up and do so. Stuff disappears. It's just a part of what we do in the public library, but this company has been very good in helping us, and I just wanted to, when they sent me this report, I thought it had a nice snapshot for y'all to see that it is a nice return on the investment, and it does work. People really appreciate the finalists, and most of the time we don't have a problem, but there are always those that want to abuse the system, and so.
Where it talks about the total invoice amount?
Yes, sir.
Is that how much we pay them for
Yes, sir.
the amount that they recover?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
We pay them on a per patron basis. And so we submit after someone goes 90 days or 120 days past due with materials and they're deemed lost, they get some warning letters and then we give the information to them.
And that figure was for what, 3 years?
Not quite 3 years.
It says April 14th.
Oh, yes, sir. Okay, then yeah, 3 years, yeah. Time flies, yes, sir.
Okay. Wow.
John, you know how you catch a unique rabbit?
No, sir.
Unique up on him?
Why did I ask?
Let me write that down for my
You know how to catch a tame rabbit?
No, sir.
Same way. All right.
Judge.
Russell, was that okay?
Help me out, Judge.
We'll be here all morning.
Out.
He will.
Okay, John's explained to us. Is there a motion on unique?
Motion to acknowledge.
Second.
Yeah, a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank y'all.
John, before
Yes,
you
sir.
leave, two things.
Yes, sir.
There's a bill that material affect our library system that has been sitting at the state capitol. I know
Yes, sir.
you were down there with the library group last week.
Yes, sir.
Any news on that?
I heard the same as you, Judge. So the backstory, just briefly, is Senator Birdwell in Granbury put forth a bill that would basically just gut the public library accreditation in Texas from the state library. He and his wife got upset locally, and so he did something and.
State of the bill.
Sorry. The bill was going to basically remove all of the teeth and minimum requirements for public libraries in Texas. The last we heard is that bill will not make it out of committee, which is good news.
Yeah, but if it does start moving, it would behoove us to support John and any of his colleagues that can go
Yes, sir.
shed some light on what that.
I happen to serve on as you know, the state libraries commission that hears appeals of accreditations for public libraries, so I would be down to testify.
We hope we don't trigger that action, but
yes, sir.
we all need to understand.
I would always prefer not to testify.
All right, thank you. Number 12, discuss take action on summary collections for March for tax office. Ms. Hood.
Morning.
Morning. Morning.
You have that information before you. I'll be glad to answer any questions if I can. Pretty cut and dry.
Karen, how does it look from last year right now, on the total?
I did not include that this month, so I can't answer that question.
That's fine. Can you do that for us? That way we can have at least a comparison, because I look at these numbers, they look great, but I don't know if they are or not.
And I had been doing that, but then I lost some files due to some kind of virus or something that had my last year's files, but I can dig back into my folders and
If
get
you
those
could,
for
please.
you. Yes, sir.
That'd be awesome. Thanks for this report.
Yes, sir.
Motion to acknowledge.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
13, discuss take action on use of horseshoe for Master Gardener plant sale on April 29, 2017. This is a repeat, but we request that it come to the court every year. So, Jeff, go ahead. Good morning.
So the Master Gardeners are having their annual fundraiser and plant sale this Thursday morning through, actually they're going to be setting up Thursday morning, and the sale will be on Saturday through 5 p.m. That'll be the breakdown period. We'll need that time to break down the facility. And they're under the auspices of AgriLife, so I'm here to request permission for the use of the education facility at no charge to the Permian Basin Master Gardeners or AgriLife for those days.
Okay, the history on this, as Jeff described, they sponsor it. We put the marketing fee, which we're required to pay by contract. We do that internally, we use it. And our trade-off has been generous support from Master Gardeners on all county properties at no charge. So,
So it opens up on Thursday and runs all the way till Saturday at 5 p.m.?
No, the actual sale is going to be from Saturday from 9 to 2. Is that right? From 9 to 2. So we just need Thursday to set up and in the education building. And it actually ends at 2, so we need those 3 hours to break down on Saturday.
Jeff, the court is concerned with the fee, and we may do that. As to the move in and move out and all that, that's a duly calendar deal. So
okay,
you could talk to us all day, we wouldn't know the difference.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if I had to request a waiver for all those days or just for...
Well, it's certainly good for us to know, but those are within the context of what he's got scheduled out.
Understand.
Make a motion that we comp the use of the horseshoe for the Master Gardeners on that date.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Ladies, would y'all like to say anything?
Yeah, they showed up here and it surprised me, and they wanted to say thank you to y'all.
Oh, you can go ahead.
I'm Ann Eubank. I'm one of the co-chairs for the plant sale this year. It is our only fundraiser, and of course, you've always been so generous to waive that fee for us, and we appreciate it. It allows us to do the programs that we think are important for our county and for our residents here so they can learn about gardening and the Permian Basin. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay.
As the treasurer, I say thank you very much. It is a fun day, and I encourage everyone to come out on Saturday, but we do appreciate the county waiving that fee for us. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for the unlimitless hours y'all give us every time we call. So thanks. Okay. Item 14, discuss take action on the use of horseshoe for Permian Basin Law Enforcement Academy recruit graduation on May 15, 2017. Hello, Ms.
Hi, Judge. Good morning, and Commissioners. My name is Terry Moore. I'm the Executive Director of the Permian Basin Regional Planning Commission, and I have Dana Hill, who is our Criminal Justice Director, and we're here today to ask the court to consider waiving the fee for the use of the horseshoe for our 98th Academy graduation ceremony, and we have appreciated this fee being waived for many years so far. And we look forward to it again if you would allow us to have
Can you
that
tell
fee
us
waived.
Terry, who all's going to be involved in the academy, and what counties or what entities?
Midland's got some. Midland's got some recruits in there. Midland County, Ector County, Midland PD. I believe we've got one from Loving County. We're down to 10. We started out with 13.
Okay. It's the same thing we did last year, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
I'd like to make the motion to approve this request.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Again, if you'll visit with Mr. Daly, because he's the one that schedules in and out and...
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
There you go. You bet. Thank you for coming. Nice to see you, Terry.
You too, Judge.
I wasn't expecting you this morning. Dana, always good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, number 15, we had requested some information from Tarrant County and a couple others. We did not get it, so I'd ask that we hold this until we get the background.
Yep. I'll table.
All right. So that's tabled by agreement. 16, discuss take action on the medical retirement of Warmel, Midland County Sheriff's Office K-9.
Warmel is a K-9 that we purchased from Ector County whenever Robbie Strahan came over. And the animal is getting to where he can't hardly get up and down. Arthritis has set in, and he's got a lot of trouble. You do have in your papers there a statement from the veterinarian that'll verify the information. We do have a family, the Erdman family, that owns Advanced Quick Lube, and they have offered to purchase another dog for $10,000. We have another $10,000 from the sheriff's office that we'll throw into it. Y'all can contribute whatever you'd like, but it's gonna be in Indiana is where the animal is. He needs to go up. We got another deal on the agenda too.
We haven't called that item yet.
Yes, sir. But anyway, the animal needs to be medically retired, and we would appreciate if you'd acknowledge that.
How old is it?
Couldn't tell you. I know 8. Around 8 years.
Yeah.
What breed?
Dutch Shepherd.
A lot of service.
A lot of service. Good animal. Extremely good.
16, let's take action on that first.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Have a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 17, Sheriff's already given us a highlight. Discuss, take action on accepting donation in the amount of $10,000 to the Midland County Sheriff's Office to assist in the purchase of a new K-9 from the Erdman family. And Sheriff, there's a couple of things associated with that. And one, when it came over, it had some training dates accompanying the request. Those training dates occur up there?
That's correct.
Here?
Those are up there.
Yeah, because we didn't want to get into an issue of dictating your training.
Yes, sir.
So if we are going to consider these items for a new K-9, you'll note on item 20, it does refer to training dates, and those dates are in the cost of the animal, or they're extra?
No, it's considered in the cost.
Okay. All right, good deal. All right, Sheriff, well, number 10, somebody wants to give him $10,000. Are we okay with it?
Anytime you can get money out of Earl, I'll make the motion.
He'd like that as part of the record. We have a motion. Is there a
They're very
second?
strong supporters of law enforcement.
Motion, multiple seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 18, discuss take action accepting donation in the amount of $2,000 from the Midland County Sheriff's Office to assist purchase of a new K-9 from Teen Challenge.
The Teen Challenge came in and gave us $2,000 and told us we could use it for whatever we wanted. At the beginning, I wanted to use it for the Bulletproof Vest Fund, and then this deal come up with the animal on getting a new dog. And I know that they're very strong supporters of law enforcement as well, and that I think this would do just as well to move the money over to this, and I know they're going to be very satisfied with it.
Okay.
And,
Motion to accept?
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And on all of these, Sheriff, you're taking care of the thank you letters.
That is correct.
All right, thank you. 19, discuss take action accepting donation in the amount of $250 to Midland County Sheriff's Office to assist purchase of a new K-9 from the D. Fay Smith, from Miss D. Fay Smith, actually.
Again, this is a donation that came to the Sheriff's Office for us to use in whatever manner we wanted, and they agreed to it, and so we're going to use it on the purchase of and training of the animal.
Okay.
Motion to accept.
Second?
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 20, discuss take action authorizing out-of-state travel for K-9 officer Robbie Strahan to travel to Indiana from May 2nd, 2017 through June 18th, 2017.
It is a long-term training up there, but it's going to be doing for narcotics training and for tracking. And it's going to take a little bit of time to get all that done, but would appreciate your approval of the travel.
Okay.
Is that included in the 10,000?
Yes, sir. No, the travel is not. Come on.
10,000 is just basically to buy the dog itself. There's another fees you see on the quote. There's $6,000 actually to train the dog and the officer. And that's what part of that 7 weeks of him being up there is all him and the officer being trained at the same time.
But are you asking the court to pay that, or you're just notifying us because it's out-of-state travel and the training's included?
The training is part of the whole package.
Understand.
The travel.
It is coming out of, I have the item here in the bills for today.
Yes.
And it is coming out of the sheriff donation account where the travel is coming from.
Because it was absent in the item on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'd make the motion that we authorize out-of-state travel for K-9 Officer Robbie Strahan.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Sheriff, these dogs serve for what, 7 or 8 years?
They usually do. They start breaking down. A lot of them break down in their hips because of the in and out and the stuff that they do. And they start slowing down in about 7 years. And we get a useful life out of them.
Okay, we used to have a German Shepherd years ago, but now we're going to this breed. Is that?
There's numerous breeds. I mean, there's numerous breeds. German Shepherds, they're in the same kind of it. And there's a Dutch Shepherd, and there's Black Shepherds.
But
and
what are we getting now?
That is up to when we go up for pick. They got 250 to 300 dogs to go through and evaluate.
Okay, so you'll evaluate and pick a breed.
Yes, sir.
Once we get
suits the officer and what we need, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. 21, discuss take action accepting $25 donation to the Midland County Sheriff's Office Bulletproof Vest Fund in memory of Beth Painter from Diana and John Trischetti.
And as John told me this morning, that his wife is a Hale County girl, and she's got to support Hale County. And I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you very much.
Sheriff, tell Mormel thanks for the good service.
I will. Yes, sir. Very carefully, but I'll tell him.
22, designate the microwave radios public safety. This came up from the IT folks who suggested this needed to be done. Mr. Atkins.
Good morning. So the idea behind this is because these radios we're using now are carrying law enforcement traffic. The wireless radios are carrying the voice radio traffic. We don't have a lot of choices for who maintains these wireless links. We've had trouble in the past with out-of-town vendors coming in and setting them up, and then they're in Dallas or any kind of remote location that makes it difficult for them to come service. So we have a local company here that the SO has used for a long time. We're very happy with them so far and how they maintain the links. They're the company that you guys voted last court to extend over to the annex. But we're hoping to get around some of the pains we have of purchasing by classifying them as public use because of that traffic.
And Judge, if I can just clarify, under the competitive bidding statute, let me find the section here. Competitive bidding is not required if the court determines that the item is necessary to preserve or protect the public health or safety of the residents of the county. And it was explained to me by IT that these items are necessary for law enforcement. So therefore, if the court makes that determination, then the purchase can be made without competitive bidding.
Okay, so keeping in council's suggestion, being asked to not bid it on that basis.
Well, since this is a secondary deal for the T-close and that kind of stuff, I would make the motion that we declare the microwave radios public safety.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 23, discuss and take action on going out for RFP for courtroom audio. Yes, sir.
This was just an item, so it's kind of the blind leading the blind here, but I believe this is to finish out the courtrooms. I think Justin was working with Christie on just putting together a list of materials and then finding a company that'll come in and assemble all that for us.
Yeah. You may remember we started with the idea in Judge Lindemood's court to just kind of experiment with a couple of different ideas how it works, and now it's been very successful, and Justin's asking to match that throughout the rest of the system. So,
Judge, does that include this courtroom?
No, we would not be outfitted like the district courts and the county courts at law.
What do they do?
Can we at least look at the audio
Well,
in here?
Yeah, we can talk, no, we can talk about that under this agenda item, but let me finish on this one. This only deals with, Mike, jump in here, this deals with council tables, some different screens, some different audio.
It's almost a complete rework. It's screens all over the place, so rather than have a couple of large screens, you've got smaller screens in the gallery at every defense table, a few at the jury box, the bailiff, the witness, the judge, the court reporter, and the audio has been reworked, and then the judges and the court reporters have very nice, simple touch screens on how to control the courtroom.
It puts the console in front of the judge in total control of the courtroom,
Yes.
which we haven't had.
And we've had very positive feedback. I think all the other judges are very eager to get it done.
So, well, there comes Mr. Courtroom himself. So,
Come on up, Justin. Explain yourself.
we're talking about the courtrooms, and we're talking about
Audio.
District and at-law courts. There is a question from the Commissioner's Court about this quorum we'll get to after we decide this subject.
Okay. Basically, last year we did 3 courtrooms. We did Judge Lindemood, Dar, and Leonard, upgraded their audio video system to meet some of the latest requirements, HDMI, plus some of the equipment was older, such as this courtroom. So kind of just getting things upgraded. With that being said, we budgeted to finish the courtrooms and do the 2 county courts and the other district judges in the courthouse.
Okay. So that's the explanation on this.
And we have money budgeted for that.
Okay. If we can vote on this item, then y'all stay there because we want to ask some other questions.
I'd make the motion that we go out for the RFP for courtroom audio.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Now, this courtroom, Commissioner Sanchez has voiced what I think we all share. We have had intermittent audio in this court.
The reason we were upgrading some of the other courtrooms was some of the issues we're having in here. This one was working at the time, so I was trying to just put systems in, make sure we're making the right decisions and the right choices, and I feel like we've selected the right solution. So I was going to propose doing this courtroom at some point because we've had issues. I just had somebody here on Friday trying to get things fixed.
Okay.
When could you bring us that suggestion?
The next few days.
Well,
I have
next court meeting. And do you think, based on the history of these other courts, do you think you have money in your budget to fix this one?
We'll need to check. We were able to go through another company, so it was on state contract. That cost us a little extra. This time we have just enough money to do the other courtrooms, so we'll have to see if there's any extra.
Well, I think my colleagues and I would like to see what you would suggest here and what it would cost.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
I guess. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Justin.
Let's go to 24, renew and sign annual IBM hardware maintenance agreement. Mr. Atkins.
This is just an annual maintenance agreement. We have dozens of these with all our vendors. This is just one of them that asks for a signature.
And this is for
Anything IBM maintenance, so 400, the HMC for the 400, a couple of tape drives.
any thought about finding a replacement?
I would love to.
All we have to do is get the,
There's a particular software company we would need to eliminate, and then we could get rid of the 400.
yeah. I'd make the motion that we sign the annual IBM hardware maintenance agreement.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And number 25, review and sign New World Tyler Technology Support Amendment. Already charging us more.
Don't shoot the messenger here. This is, I think, just Tyler kind of formalizing the maintenance since they acquired New World. It's mostly legalese, so I can't tell you more or less what it is, but I did pass it on for review.
Has Russell seen it?
I've sent it to him.
I've got a judge, I've not had a chance to review it yet.
Okay.
Well, I'd make the motion that if Russell's review is satisfactory, that we sign the New World Tyler Technologies higher rate support amendment.
Would you like to
If
get?
it's higher, is it higher rate?
Yes.
I haven't seen any
Yes.
numbers.
They've already started moving the rate up. Would you like to
I haven't
change?
seen a copy of it, but
Would you like to change?
I
from
would
the-
love to, for you guys to sign it. That would like you.
No, we have a question. Would you like to?
Want to change?
Would you like to change from New World?
No, no.
There's some of us that would say, yeah.
Where do we get those amounts from that they're charging more? I haven't seen anything, so I'm just curious to see what that
Last
amount
court,
is.
they sent us an addendum that they weren't going to support a
Yes, sir.
previous that came with the package. It's not even that old. So Justin has taken that, and we're reviewing what our position is, because we're starting to see Tyler do the same thing, just keep sending bills. Did I say that accurately?
Is this not just your annual normal agreement that we sign anyway, regardless of which financial company we have?
No.
I don't.
But they're asking for signatures and such, but
The one we're speaking of, the new bill, was last court just to look at. We haven't. But no, they're starting to upcharge.
This is just the support
regular.
agreement.
Yes.
And it doesn't indicate any changes in fees. It just says will be listed on the applicable invoice. So whatever invoice they send is what you're going to have to pay.
Well, wait a minute, before, so we're going to pay something that we don't know how much they're charging us for?
Well, it
Is
just
that, I mean,
says.
that's what I'm hearing right now.
The problem is
How
it's.
they do it. Yeah.
They publish a rate schedule, and that's what your deal is,
Okay.
period.
So, but I
They
didn't see a
set the
rate
rate.
schedule attached with that. I'm sorry, my computer's restarting, so I don't have access to it. That's why I got this
It's not-
paper one.
It's
but-
not attached.
Okay, I didn't think
It just
so.
says that,
know when we get it.
your maintenance and support fees for the initial term for the Tyler software will be listed in the applicable invoice.
So my question is, can we request that? Surely it's out there somewhere. I can't imagine them doing this without any numbers out there.
Well, this would fit their methodology on how they bill for their software. Sign this, and then we'll tell you what you owe us.
So then the answer is no?
Well, the problem is that you can't leave them out there without support.
Right. No, I completely understand. I just want to know what we're getting into. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to agree to it. No, I mean, I know that we need it. I know it's here. I'm just always very cautious whenever we're going to approve something. We're talking about that there's fees associated with it, but I haven't seen any fees. So I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Yeah.
There is no fees associated with this piece of paper here.
Correct.
And if we're talking about fees, I want to see what those fees are because it's not on here. It's not listed on there.
Start date on this maintenance?
There is, but the commissioner may wish to have it tabled.
We could ask for a fee schedule, you know, what they anticipate as maintenance paying.
Sure.
I'm hoping that they're going to honor what New World had established as their maintenance. They had a kind of a typical increase, as a lot of companies do every year.
Sure.
I mean, they could, though, turn around and mark it up as they wish.
Right.
I would hope that they wouldn't, but it is, you know, possible.
The unfortunate thing is this has been the history with Tyler, and that's why IT does not recommend them, nor would I, nor a number of other counties, is that you end up with these kind of scenarios with them. In defense of this product, though, it's a good product. We signed an agreement to put it in. It was during the time that we signed the agreement to actually the install that Tyler acquired the company. So perhaps that would have had some bearing had we not signed, but
we had already implemented the software before Tyler even.
But it was after the
acquired it.
contracting
Yeah,
period.
after contract, after.
Russell, the other thing on this one is the initial term commences on 1/1/2020, so we can't sign this anyway.
I didn't see that. I saw 14 and 18.
And then
Yeah, it's not 2020 yet, is it?
no.
I'm not very good on dates, but yeah, that's,
Sorry.
Let's table this.
Yeah, I
There's too
think
many hiccups in
there are
this.
too many questions.
If we have agreement to do that.
I'm good.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'd like to see a fee schedule.
So item 25 is tabled pending some clarification and additional information. Okay. 26, discuss take action on having county judge to sign accurate LexisNexis renewal for SO and C&W.
Yes, sir. This is a budgeted item, and this is a renewal for the Accurate LexisNexis for $200 per month flat rate and miscellaneous fees listed on the fee schedule for various reports.
This is actually correct. This is what we agreed to do. So.
Motion to approve or authorize county judge to sign LexisNexis renewal.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 27, discuss take action on county judge signing RICO lease agreement.
Yes, sir. We thought it would be more than one agreement, but we have a couple of departments that need to make a decision. But this one is a budgeted item, and we have a 60-month lease for SOCIU in the amount of $133.90 per month, and that will be a savings for the department of about $155 per month.
Thanks to whoever's doing these, because you have saved us a
Lex.
considerable amount of money.
Lex is all the copier.
Lex, thank you.
I'd make the motion that we authorize county judge to sign the RICO lease agreement.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Excuse me. 28, discuss take action on purchase of canine for sheriff's patrol.
Yes, sir. As Sheriff had pointed out earlier, this will be purchased out of donation funds, and a line item transfer has been submitted. One of the current canines is being medically retired, and we have a quote for the canine and the training from Von Lick Kennels in the amount of $16,000.
Yes.
And that includes the housing of the officer
Okay.
for the training
It's a
duration.
package deal.
It is.
Okay.
I would make the motion that we authorize the purchase of the canine for SO Patrol.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 29, discuss take action on purchase of 2-ton hoists and necessary accessories for stage use. This is a budgeted item.
Yes, sir. And we have a quote from Gemini Lighting in the amount of $13,536.75.
Okay.
I make the motion to purchase the 2-ton hoists and necessary accessories for the stage use.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 30, discuss take action on record preservation for justice of the peace. This is really the clerks and myself. You have a itemized item here in front of you, and what's behind this is several months ago, the clerks and I asked CoFile, who archives materials for counties and preserves them, to give us a position on where Midland County was. And we're happy to say in the clerk's office, we're pretty much ahead of schedule. In the district clerk's office, we're pretty much behind schedule. And these are not reflective on the clerks. It's just the way the offices work. And the shocker was the JPs were 100% behind schedule. And these are the required records to be preserved by a county in the state of Texas. It's not an option. Our preservation on the JP's records consist of a pile of papers in a box or several boxes. So CoFile has CoFile has given us a plan. It's a multi-year plan, but that's not of consideration today. You'd need more time to digest it and see if we want to go there. But the one most pressing is the justice of the peace. The total is $60,070.78. There are no funds in the record preservation account for the JPs. They simply haven't generated any funds. That is not to say, as they generate them, should we go forward, they can pay the court back out of them. That's being done in some other counties. But this is brought to the court because I think it's something we need to act on. If we can act on it today, great. If you want more information and take more look at it, fine. But I think we're going to find ourselves having to do all this at one time, right, Laura? Or we're going to be able to choose our schedule and piecemeal it over what I would propose 2 or 3 years.
I'm concerned that if we don't jump on this, that we're going to potentially run afoul of Michael Morton, so that if I have to go back and pull a warrant or something else like that that was signed by a JP, or something that even happened in a JP trial, that we are going to have issues recalling that information.
Do not confuse what I'm saying here with the sheriff's records. The sheriff's records are another category by themselves. They are not included in a county required plan.
But a lot of those JPs sign warrants and are supposed to retain the return of the warrant after it's been executed. And as far as I know right now, they're being thrown in a box.
In a box. Yeah. And to say we're behind, if you look down there on acknowledgments as to orders that came out of JP's, we're current through 1887. And since the county started in 1887, we're a little delinquent in acknowledgments, 1905 to 1927, a variation of civil dockets. And this is not something we created. We asked COFI to come in and take a look and tell us whether they did it or not. Where are we in relation to the state requirements? Okay. These JP files, one of the JPs, not Cobos, but help me. Barton, you're right. Barton was the one that also brought this to our attention a couple of months ago and said, whoops, we're finding this stuff everywhere.
I would just like to point out that co-file, this quote is on the state contract.
Right.
Where are these records now, and where will they be? Are they going to be like they show in this backup where they're, the historic files, are they going to be preserved like that with hanging files and all that? Where are they going to be stored?
I think there's multiple answers to your question. Let's start with the first one. Where are they now? Mm-hmm. Some are in Judge Barton's office. Some are in a box out on Taylor Street. Some, we think, are in Taylor Street in various boxes, but we don't know because Judge Barton's trying to put them together. That's the danger. What are they going to look like when they finish? They'll probably look like, if you've seen the clerk's books, mm-hmm. land record books and whatever, they'll probably look just like that unless we tell them differently.
Similar to what is on this backup that they showed.
Similar.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And the reason I'm bringing this to you now is that, sad but true, as we start moving archives from Taylor Street into the downtown library on the second floor, we've got to completely disassemble those boxes anyway and fumigate them because we have some uninvited guests and we have some other issues. So I would rather...
Are those some of the records that are going to be preserved?
I beg your pardon?
Are they going to be preserved in this fashion also?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm thinking if you're going to spend money to do that, which we're going to have to do, I think, right, Tim? Without going into detail, and why not apply that money to the actual preservation of it? So,
is there a fee that the JP course can begin to charge, records preservation fee, that will help us reimburse this to the...
The JPs do have a preservation account, but Judge Cobos told me on Friday there is nothing in it, and they're not going to have a lot in it by year end. Is that correct? Okay.
If there's my point is we need to start charging the fee if we're not charging it.
Allison, y'all have one. Is that state mandated, or is something you've got a preservation?
We have a preservation fee that we're allowed to charge.
Yeah, it's mandated different fees to different elected offices, and the JPs have one. not had it funded to speak of. But yes, Randy, I would condition that any approval, should we do it, be that they pay us back out of that fee, as has been the practice in some other counties. But this is what we're finding, and we're happy to say Allison is getting a copy made of the Midland County Commissioner Court first meeting, which we found and had cleaned up, and now they're going to preserve it. And it's pretty telling. So, anyway, if you want to table it for further discussion, fine, but this is something I believe we need to get moving, because the enormity of the price tag at one time could play havoc with the county budget. I would view, as Randy and I briefly talked, I would view, if we choose to go forward with these, that we direct it as to a department at a time, and that we spread it out as we did the road improvements over a couple of years, so it doesn't take your breath away.
So this expenditure would be
This would go this year, but it would have to come out of a contingency. I don't know any other way to do it.
Do you have an idea of whose stuff starts first?
Commissioner, the schedule you have before you deals with just consecutive volumes, and Inquest Docket, page 1, page 2, volume 5, that's down in the Inquest section. That's why we asked CoFile, is they're extremely experienced in this. We've used them in the past. They have a continuing archival operation with the county clerk, and they did the old courthouse archiving records. Some of you have seen those upstairs that will go on public exhibit.
Judge, I don't have any problem with us doing this to bring us up to where we need to be. However, I would like to see a request from the JPs to implement this fee. If it hasn't been charged all these years, that it begins. We don't have if they don't want to do this, I have a problem. Because this is one of the ways, we have so many terrible unfunded mandates, and if this is one that's semi-funded, we need to begin funding it.
Okay.
I always like for people to pay fees that are using a system rather than taxpayers' property tax.
And let me add one other little sidebar to this. Allison brought us a requirement that the state has imposed through the Office of Court Administration about a central archive for filings that would occur in Austin, and people would access it over the internet, and they would get their copies, and the money would go to the Office of Court Administration, not to the counties, who are required to pay for and keep these. So yes, it's an unfunded mandate. I just saw the fee structure to keep that contract in vogue, and it's $27 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So if right now we get fees in most departments on most of these documents, it seems that would be the time for us to do the best we can to preserve it, because we could get caught in a request to preserve and have absolutely no fees to do it with in any department. But I'm not going to tell you that the fees will pay the total of what the task is, because they won't, I don't think.
But they would require us to pull all of our records into that, right?
That's the next piece that they're discussing right now. It was there 10 days ago when they were discussing.
Have they passed that bill yet?
Not yet, and it generally if they can't get it through the legislature, then it goes up through the court system. So, and our aggravation is you're going to make us pay part of the state fee that we have absolutely nothing to do with getting the revenue. So,
unfortunately, I'm hoping that they'll do last in, first out as far as the warrants.
The other thing that, if I remember correctly, and you were there a little bit, Allison, when they visited with us, Most of these documents are 1950 and previous, isn't that correct? Yeah. Okay.
The current ones are okay?
We've done a very good job forward to the JPs, the clerks, and et cetera, but it's prior to that. And this is part of that ominous archival thing that's kind of hanging out there. So, anyway, that's it.
Okay. Well, I'd make the motion that we take the 62,000 from contingency.
May I ask that in your motion that you also add that as the JP's preservation fund fills up, that it be paid back to the county?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. 31, discuss and take action on development subdivision rules for Midland. Russell?
You probably haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I've emailed each of you a copy of a number of suggestions for consideration for modification or revision of our subdivision regulations. I also have printed off copies here, if you'd like those. If you haven't.
Can you take a moment and walk us through what the bigger changes are?
Sure. There's a...
and where new authority exists.
Sure. Let's just go through them kind of quick. Over the years, a number of times I've been asked about whether the county has building and setback lines, and I have not been able to find any instance where we've actually ever adopted setback lines, where we could require, and this isn't just in subdivisions actually, but any construction, where we can require that buildings be built so many feet back from the right-of-way and not just out of the right-of-way. So we do have authority to adopt setback lines. The court has never imposed an application fee for subdivision applications. That is authority that the court has. It could be just a set fee of X amount per application, or it could be a fee that varies based upon the acres or the number of lots or things like that. Probably the biggest, I think probably the biggest change that I'm suggesting is clarifying or being more specific on the application procedure. A number of counties have started requiring a preliminary plat and a informal conference before the actual final plat is ever filed. And once the final plat is filed, there are strict deadlines imposed upon the county to get everything reviewed. If we adopt a procedure that requires an informal plat and a conference with the commissioner of that precinct and/or any other county employees or officials that the court wants to designate, then a lot of the issues can be addressed before we ever get to the point of having the actual final plat filed. So then once that final plat is filed, it should be a much easier procedure and a lot easier to meet any deadlines. But along with this, I think that, and this is a conversation Jenny and I have had several times about coming up with a really good procedure about exactly who is to review what items, and having a form so that once a preliminary plat has been sent to the county, each of the people designated can review those specific items and can indicate on a form that they've been reviewed, what the result of the review was. But one, this helps to ensure that we are getting everything done in a timely manner. But also then gives us something we can send back to the developer so that they can be advised what needs to be changed before or if everything is okay, or if things need to be changed or things need to be added before the final plat is actually prepared and submitted to the Commissioners Court. So I think the biggest change would be, that I think would probably be very helpful, would be coming up with this procedure. I've kind of outlined it in the memo. But we would need to make a number of decisions about exactly how that was done. Under under current law, the court can require that each purchase contract made between a subdivider and a purchaser of land in the subdivision can contain a statement describing the extent to which water will be made available to the subdivision, and if it will be made available, how and when. This is something that can probably be extremely helpful to people who are going to be purchasing land in subdivisions. Also, if the subdivider is planning on using groundwater as the source of water, you can require that the plat application have attached to it a statement prepared by an engineer or geoscientist certifying that adequate groundwater is available to the subdivision, and that the plat would not be, you would not have to approve the plat until they've actually done that. So in other words, if their adequate groundwater is not available, they would not be able to get the plat approved.
Okay.
Something, just one other one that I think probably, especially Commissioner Donnelly would be interested in. If the plat is going to be, if the subdivision, all or part of it is going to be within future transportation corridors, there are specific things that can be required now of the subdivider to ensure that the subdivision is not going to interfere with those future transportation corridors. So those are the main ones, I believe. I've included several other items that are not necessarily specifically applicable to subdivisions, but just regulatory power that the court has that you might want to consider.
Russell?
Yes, sir.
It may be in there and just glanced over it. Is there statements about subdivisions and flooding? If I know we've got some archaic retention pond rules now. I don't see retention ponds.
No, we have I have not yet, I haven't compared the rules about flooding in our current regulations to any changes yet, but I'll do that.
Okay, and do we get at the subject matter rules and regulations? You know, we've got a couple of folks that have developed their own land on their own, and they made handwritten county road signs and stuck them up. And I would hope we'd add some language about if there are penalties available, you can't do that. And the power in that subdivision that I've actually walked through is extension cords running across the ground.
So as opposed to the typical county road signs that are put up, they put up handmade signs?
Yeah, they had a hoe handle and tacked on their own county road designation.
Okay. This is an issue I wasn't aware of, so.
Mr. Bancourt, you're familiar with him.
Okay. Yeah, this particular issue about
this is just
this is a new one for me. But yeah, I believe that's something that we can address. We can also, actually, there's new law that allows you to even enact standards for the actual address numbering for the houses to make those easier to spot as to the size of lettering, coloring, designs, et cetera.
And from time to time, the court has talked about and asked, do we have any inspection authority out in the county? And I don't know of any other than health and safety.
I'm not aware of anything for the county to perform inspections.
Yes, and the example used, it's out in precinct 2. There's a house made out of hay.
A house made of hay?
Yeah.
Wow. No, but another thing that a new power that Commissioners Court has is the power to actually impose certain building standards for new houses and for additions, and that would require, not the Gifts County Inspection Authority, that would require that the builder have inspections completed before the houses are completed. So you can now actually vote to impose uniform building standards for commercial, not for commercial, but for residential houses.
Who would make those inspections? Just
it would be
self-inspection.
I believe that's addressed in the statute, but I'm not sure. But they would, I think, have a licensed person perform the inspections. Exactly, and it would be the. Let me see. But yes, you can now require that residential construction be conform to the International Residential Code, the 2008 version of that.
Yeah. And one other that has come up from time to time, we approve plats in good faith, and we always raise the ETJ question, and we tell them to go to the city, and the city says, no, we're not going to enforce it. And we've been asking for a letter, but sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. But I've been asked that we put some language in there, because what we've been experiencing in a couple areas is subdivisions going in, and now the city says, no, wait a minute, we're going to impose ETJ, put sidewalks and landscaping. It's unfair to that person that's acted in good faith.
Well, the other thing is that, in that regard, is that we really need to know where that Midland County utility district is, because we have a fight with the city because they don't acknowledge it's there, and they're still causing residents to have to estimate the cost of bringing water and sewer and pavement and curbing in there. And we need to determine where they have, because they can't do it where the MCUT is. And so the east side of Midland and the south side of Midland are all in that. And we need to have some definition in there.
Okay.
The other thing I was going to ask is on your mobile home consideration. I really like that situation. Does that include the RV parks?
I think it would, as long as they fit within those definitions. Where it's basically, it's not sold, but for a renting for a certain time period. I think it would cover that. Yeah. Okay. So those aren't actually, they're not subdivisions, but basically you can adopt rules that are basically just about identical to us, or similar to subdivision rules to.
I'd strongly encourage those rules to be fleshed out, because we have some significant problems, and I think that would help us.
Okay.
I think that I think what Commissioner Donnelly's talking about is true. I think that in addition for it to say manufactured home, I think that word recreational vehicle needs to be on there. That way there's no question that we were intending it to be manufactured homes and RVs. So if there's any way on number 7 we can
sure. Let me and this
expand that definition. I understand it's kind of preliminary, but that was going to be my other question. There's some specifics in here that I like that you talked about, but that I'd like to expand on a little bit more. Is this just kind of the skeleton, I guess, first go ahead and begin, and then we'll just start adding?
Yeah, before I actually changed the current regulations and added everything in there, I wanted to give you something that was a little bit easier, just kind of the basic and easier to read, and so you didn't have to go through all the regulations to find it. But on the manufactured housing, that will just depend on what the definition is in the statute. Okay. Now, off the top of my head, I can't remember. I can't remember exactly how it's done, but I'll look at it and see how it's defined and see what all we can cover with that.
No, I can tell you that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're.
But what I've looked at so far, I think it's good, and I think we need to adopt something here as soon as possible. I mean, I don't want to wait anymore. I know that the last 8 years, it's been real tough, especially we talked about the city. And some of the situations that we're having with the city is the city puts regulations and they're asking people to abide by them, which you'll have a group of people that will and a group of people that don't. The people that will, of course, they have to spend all that money to abide by it, right? Because that's the law. The people that don't, they don't abide by it, they don't have to spend the money, and then the city just sits on their hands and they don't do anything. So they say, we're gonna do this to you if you don't do that. And people don't do it, and they're like, but we don't want to get into it, So I just want to make sure that if we're going to do this, it's not going to be like a threat. And then on the backside, well, there's really nothing we can do. We're just telling people, but there's nothing we can't enforce it. And I just feel that that's what's going on right now, unfortunately, with the city out in the county. And it's becoming a bigger problem because obviously I get a call and they say, I had to do that, but the guy in front of me isn't doing it, and the city's not doing anything about it. Well, there's nothing I can do because I'm a commissioner. I can't tell the city what to do. But at the same time, it's unfortunate the city is coming. I understand the ETJ is coming in and telling people what to do, but they're not wanting to enforce their own rules. So anything that we do to help us get to that point, anything, even something as basic as this, just to get us started, I appreciate you helping us out. And I'm ready to vote on this to get it going. I mean, I don't want to wait a minute without this.
Let me,
done. Go ahead.
I will, what I'd suggest is after you've had a chance to read over the memo, any thoughts you have or questions, call me or email me or whatever, but I'll go ahead and start incorporating these into the regulations so I can bring it back to the court for adoption.
Well, if you put that 30 days approval on there, you need to put at least the 60-day preliminary.
Right. Okay.
And also, Russell, these building codes, it's 2008, not 2012.
I believe that unless it's been amended, the statute reads 2008, but it may have been amended.
Okay, international building codes is what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'd like to just remind Commissioner Ramsey that we are waiting on a final plat from Bates Estate that we all looked at and just initially approved, but they're coming to court and we've already given them a final okay, as long as their final Mylars, original Mylars match what we approved. So, and I do have an email from Schumann Engineering. They're ready to do another one, so I don't know what y'all want.
And that raises a question. Unfortunately, it's in Commissioner Ramsey's precinct also. We recently had a almost revelation that there was a plat presented back when Commissioner Smith was here. Plat was proper. We approved it. The roadways were drawn as to width, but not as to material on them. And we agreed to approve the plat location of the buildings. And the developer said, yeah, I'll come back to you on these roads and we'll get them done. But I think the consequence of that was he never came back. These folks were told it's county roads. They're upset, can't blame them. They now realize they're not county roads and the developer's gone. So if you could, I hope I said that right, Scott, but if you would visit with Commissioner Ramsey, because that's the most modern version of a developer saying, yeah, I'm coming back. And it may be that we tie them together, not taking the roads into the county, but we want to approve the subdivision till the roads are in and those folks know what they're getting.
As far as this goes, since I'm a little bit on the naive side, I do want to study this a little bit more. And obviously, everybody else has had experiences with this, and I haven't. And just in listening to the overall thing, it just almost seems like we're starting to blur the lines between the city and the county. You know, what does it cost to come out and have to do all these inspections? I mean, what does it take? Do we have to hire new people? These are all these questions that I have no idea. So, I mean, there's a lot of things I want to know. I don't know what the current regulations are. All I've been told is it sits in the county, and we really don't have a whole lot of regulations.
I'll email you a copy of our current regulations. The current regulations were actually adopted in '92. I believe that we've only made, as far as I can remember, we've only revised those one time when a few years ago we had added was a requirement for emergency exits, I believe.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a copy of those.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's happened, Commissioner, it's become such a problem in the bigger counties. The state, in the last 3 sessions, have kind of piecemealed new authority to the county. We can choose to do it, or we can choose to leave it alone.
Right.
But
To answer your question about the inspections, there's actually 4 inspections that has to be done on a home, and they charge anywhere from some inspectors only charge $75 to $150. Some of them are twice that, depends on what they're inspecting. And to answer the question about manufactured homes, NFPA, National Fire Protection Association 501, specifically addresses all manufactured homes.
Okay, thanks, Dale. So are we in agreement that Russell's asked for comments from us, that he'll incorporate and bring it back to court for some kind of action, maybe next court meeting?
Well, and so I actually have a couple of questions are we anticipating public hearings and input, because these regulations would have lots of perhaps unintended consequences and so forth? Is that part of the process as far as you know, Russell?
I would, because we've actually had previously adopted regulations, I'm still not clear if a public hearing is necessary, but I think it's a good idea. Because of the what you just expressed, and with Commissioner Ramsey expressing, concerns about it. I mean, it's my thought that getting input from the citizens, or giving the citizens a chance to give input, is a good idea.
And the last question I have that I don't know how you answer it is, I think the laws regarding ETJs, I've never been given any kind of clarity on that. I don't understand what you said, Luis, is very true. The city is claiming authority that I don't know where it exists legally, and so I always have a hard time when somebody calls me. I just say, well, check with the city, but really and truly, if somebody doesn't want to do something, and the city doesn't enforce it, we're in a real, that's not a good situation.
Yeah, I can't remember how many years ago now it was that the legislature required that for subdivisions that are going to be located in the ETJ, that every county reach an agreement with the cities within the county about how that's going to be handled. And, the options were either the county does it, the city does it, or you have some kind of combination. And so we reached an agreement with the city of Midland and with the city of Odessa for that portion of the city of Odessa that's in Midland County, that the cities would actually handle the subdivision process. So, and I think and at some point along the way, it started becoming a problem. Right. I guess. But so it's part of our interlocal agreement with the cities that we agreed that they would do it.
It needs to be revisited because Commissioner Prude's right. We had a major employer come in with a facility, and Commissioner Smith said, go ahead, you're in the county. And they started building, and then they said, well, the ETJ requires this, and they're not in the ETJ. We now have a row of trees, very expensive trees, sitting down the middle of our road, because that's where they were told to put them.
And I told them to cut it, but...
yeah, so we've been out with a chainsaw, but that's where the real fuzziness has started occurring.
Is that the one on 1250 or?
Close, yeah.
Is that where it is?
Yeah, it's off of 1250.
Judge, one other thing that might help y'all too is on this, and I haven't seen what Russell's written, but NFPA 1194 specifically addresses RV parks also.
Okay. But these are just hodgepodge things that have come into view after changes at the city, and a very hot economy where we're all trying to get something done.
And Judge, I have two final questions too.
Yes, sir.
So let's say we go through this process, we get things worked out the way we want it. What do you envision? So when a non-developer, but say an individual in the county calls and says, I'm fixing to do such and such, or I'm going to build on my property or whatever, what do you anticipate the answer will be to them to tell them where to go to look at any changes that the county has made and so forth?
Well, we will get them up on the website, so we can direct them there, or we can always just email them a copy. You can always direct them to me if they have questions about the changes we've made.
Okay, and then the last question along this line is, I can anticipate sometime within the next 5 to 10 years, one of the most important projects that this court may end up tackling is the idea of water to county residents. And especially in light of the fact that we've bought a tremendous asset that needs to be developed at some point in the future, how would that concern tie in with what you and us are trying to accomplish right now with regulations?
Off the top of my head, the only thing I can think of was the one thing I had mentioned where we can require that in their contracts with purchasers of the land, that they identify what the water source will be that they're providing. But beyond that, off the top of my head, I'm not sure of anything else, any other way it specifically ties in.
Russell, if I can offer this, if you could speak to Jay Edwards and Jose at the County Freshwater District.
Right.
We're investing with them to do that study and lay out an overall plan that I think answers some of Commissioner Pruitt's questions.
Gotcha. Okay.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we've had a thorough discussion on that. What I'd propose to do is take 33 through 37, which is the routine business, and let those people get their information done so they can be excused, because 32 has some discussion among the court, and it may take a little bit of time, but we want to offer as much time as we need to do that. So with that as the reasoning, number 33, discuss take action on fleet accidents. Dwayne?
And he said there's no reports.
Okay. 34, take action acknowledging personnel memorandum. Mitzi?
Yes, sir. There's nothing too out of the ordinary on the personnel memoranda today. All of the overtime that you see at the bottom is all according to policy, including elections. They're allowed to work and be paid for overtime if they're actually working on an election or a day or two of prep right before it.
Okay.
Motion to acknowledge.
Have a motion. Is there a second? Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item 35, discuss take action on budget line item transfers. Madam Auditor.
Yes, sir. I do have some line item transfers to bring to your attention this morning. Line item transfer, page 3 of 14, number 4775, and it is only because they are moving money out of the combined district courts into the court-appointed attorneys for the 318th District Court.
Okay.
Line item transfer 414, number 4824. This is an amendment, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Okay.
Line item transfer number 7 of 14, 4959. This is for the K-9 purchase, and so just wanted to bring that to your attention for the donations that were provided to us today.
Okay.
And last, the number 9 of 14, number 5004. There is money being moved out of law enforcement supplies, $3,000 in the sheriff donation account, but it indicates it is moving into the general fund, education and training. I think that is a typo, and that needs to be moved into the sheriff donation account, because we can't move money out of our sheriff donation account into the general fund. Those are restricted funds that have to stay in that fund, and I did discuss it with the sheriff.
You agree with that, Chair? Good. I mean, thanks for the generous offer of a gift, but I don't think we can take it.
Take anything over, you got enough food.
So with that change, those are the exceptions for this morning.
Okay, any discussion?
Motion to approve?
Okay.
Second.
A motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 36, discuss take action on bills and
Beers.
wire transfers.
We cannot purchase that with county funds.
Man.
I do have,
I saw everybody in the courtroom's eyes light up just now.
On the sheriff.
I do have a couple of wire transfers for the county clerk's office, deposit in general pool cash account in error, $31 and $155. I think we thought the IRS issue had been cleared up, but apparently it has not. So I know Allison and Mitzi will work together to try to get this fixed. I do have some exceptions to the bills this morning. I have one for, it's kind of echoing, Donald Graham. He submitted a check request form to us for some framing done by Hobby Lobby. Unfortunately, what we've run into is that we don't have anybody that does the framing. So Hobby Lobby is not someone that we can get a purchase order from. And if you have a change, then that would be great.
We did have someone, they did all those haul pictures. That company was sold and we thought had left. They are now back operating, so I can give you that information.
Perfect. If Christy can have that way she can set him up as a vendor, that would be great, because right now,
They did
I know.
their framing for years, and then the guy sold the company.
Yeah, I know right now anyone who wants to do any kind of framing, they usually, Hobby Lobby is not an approved vendor, and so that's why it's usually an exception in the courtroom. So, perfect. I do have another one for Sheriff's Office admin, no PO, and it has to do with, they purchased a stapler, a $248 stapler that really wasn't a supply, rather a piece of equipment because of the cost of it, anything that's over the $150. So it was just a large stapler that should have had a separate PO. We have one for Wagner Supply Company, $1,737.10. Sheriff's Office detention. Having to do with something they were purchasing out of the janitorial supplies, but it was a large wagon, and with the cost, two of them, with the cost of $868. And so we feel that should have been purchased with a separate purchase order rather than just a janitorial supply item. So because of the cost of it.
Okay.
The only other two, I have two additional bills for your consideration this morning, and that's to VOHE Litch Kennels, and that is for the purchase of the dogs. I know that when they go up there, they have to take the money in order to purchase the dogs, and so I hadn't included that in your bills this morning because we still needed you to approve those line item transfers or those amendments for that new money. And we need a purchase order that will be done after court. We will get that done in the right order. It's just that I needed your approval on all of these items. So $255 and $16,000.
Okay.
That is what I have for you.
Any questions on the bills?
Motion to pay all bills and wire transfers.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And 37, take action on submitted application permit to use county right-of-way for utility line installation, driveway construction, mailbox construction. Precinct 1.
None?
Precinct 2.
I have 2.
Precinct 3. 3. Precinct 4.
I'd make a motion to approve these.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. There are none. Motion passes. Okay. We got a request for a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back. We'll take 32 up, and that will be a discussion among the court only. So recess for 5 minutes. We are now back in session from recess, and I've got 10:52 by my watch. Regular agenda items that remain, we will call up and tend to item 32, discuss take action on resolution for nuclear waste. The discussion is for the court's purposes, and give you an up-to-date on what's happened since we last met, and then open it up for discussions. Since we last met, the company of concern has a dead application. I spoke with them. They contacted me. I didn't call them, and said the financial constraints on that application, they think it'll be years before they can reach it. I did get the opportunity to visit with the railroad about this subject matter, and they looked at me and said, we have no clue what you're talking about. So those are the two occurrences since last court. Now, there is a sample, and it is just what I said. It's a sample that was in part of your packet today, and that sample, those 5 items are a reflection of a motion that the court previously had by Commissioner Sanchez that he wanted those addressed. That motion still stands. So those are the items in there. And now I'm into personal comments. The things that I caution us to do, if we do anything, it may be a moot point, it may not be. But you need to stay within your ability to do things, and there are certain items, wording and what have you, and we tried to compose these, and I believe Commissioner Prude, this is yours, isn't it?
Yes, this is I'll elaborate more on it in a moment, but that is basically a resolution that was passed by Dallas County.
So what I know right now is the hearing on the company in question that was in this courtroom is mute and won't occur for several years. So that's what I know. It's open for discussion among the court members.
Judge, I'd like to kick off the discussion if that's all right.
Yes, sir.
I think you also had I don't know if this is appropriate or not, you also had a germane discussion with the Department of Energy. Is there anything to be gleaned from that might help this court shed light on this subject?
Here's what I got from them, and I laugh only because we tried to give this our fullest attention for 3 weeks. I said if we go forward, and that seems to be the court's intention, what happens to it? And they said, well, you can send it to us, but it'll wait a number of years. There's nothing active. The other part that I'm unclear about is there is no routing. There is a discussion about what to do with the stuff, true. And there's no routing of any consequence. And there was one other item, Randy, you and I talked about it. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Well, there may or may not be a direct connection between the DOE and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission.
Okay, Department of Energy, nuclear waste and other nuclear items are under its auspices, but they are indeed departments to themselves under one large department.
So as a matter of clarification to my fellow court members, either resolution can do some good. I would say the one that's on our computer that we're looking at, when you get down to the 5 points, for example, there's 3 of them that says provide an explanation or provide inspections, and 2 of them that say provide an explanation. In my opinion, I've already heard their explanation. I didn't agree with it, and so to me, even they could comply with this resolution by providing an explanation. It wouldn't help me at all, based on how I feel about, as the court may know, what bothers me the most, having, and I feel everybody that testified has a similar viewpoint. They all love their communities, they all love their hometowns, and they all want to protect the people. those on WCS side, those on the side of the community. I just have this terrible feeling in my gut about how simple it would be for a low-tech, it wouldn't have to be rocket science technology to kidnap some of this material. And so that's the reason for my deep concern over this. And I realize that the Commissioners Court doesn't have explicit authority. However, I believe that, so that brings me back to my other point about this resolution. The one that we're looking at on the computer says it basically says the county commissioners, the way I read, don't really have an opinion, but here's what we believe our citizens feel. In this particular case, that may be true of the court as a whole, but it's not true about me. I am in agreement with what the citizens expressed. And so the resolution that I brought from Dallas County that I would like for us to consider today also says it does not grant any authority that we don't have, in my opinion, the way I read it. But it explains my cares and concerns a little bit better. If we did not want to adopt a Dallas resolution or a Dallas type resolution, I would feel more comfortable with a stronger worded resolution that says that the Midland County Commissioners Court actually agrees with our citizens in making this finding. But primarily, if I had to make a specific change, just providing an explanation is not satisfactory to me. If that's the best we can end up with, then it's still a good statement of concern. So those are my issues with this item.
Okay.
And be glad to hear anything else anybody else has to say.
Okay, Commissioner Pruitt, let me answer one thing. Those provide explanations. Those 5 points are directed at the federal government and their authority, not a particular company.
Right.
And we are expressing what we hear from our citizens that live here, both pro and con, is what we've tried to grasp with.
Sure.
You make a good point, but more discussion. Gentlemen?
Commissioner Pruitt, what I see in your resolution is, it's more detailed, more eloquently stated. But the one thing it leaves out is, all it says is we as a body are against it, and we walk. It doesn't ask the federal government to do a single thing. It just says, we're against it. Okay, we'll see you later. The other one, on the other hand, does ask the government to do certain things, which I like. I want them to do, if they're going to do this, let's, kind of hold their feet to the fire.
Sure.
And this is very, very well stated. I like it, but again, it just doesn't ask the government to do anything. We're against it, and okay, and then we walk.
Scott, on the points that I mentioned there, let's say the explanation they give doesn't satisfy us at all. I mean, I'm okay. I mean, if that's all we end up doing is this one, I think it's better than where we stood. And I don't mind asking the federal government questions either. I don't. But do you see what I'm saying about, just asking a question and having them give an answer doesn't give me any degree of comfort necessarily. We could still very strongly express our opinions that we just don't want this to come through here, and I see it as a little bit different flavor. But I don't argue with what you're saying about wanting them to answer questions either.
Well, the concern about making a resolution that's hard and fast as you want is that I represent about 34,000 people in the county, and my concern is that they've expressed the concern. And I think that once you have people expressing concerns, you need to convey that expression. I don't think we as a court have as much power as those who express the concerns to us. If we do it as a body and we have no authority or jurisdiction on it, I'm concerned. I really think that this, bringing it down to local hearings, making certain that we get our citizens concerns expressed, pro and con, is more important than what we do here as a body, because I think that carries more weight than just us saying something when we don't have any jurisdiction on it.
Yeah, I don't think we're disagreeing, Robin.
Yeah.
I'm just adding that I happen to personally agree with the general sentiment that was passed through.
Right.
As opposed to we're just being a third party, neutral party that just kind of accurately summarizing what our constituents have said.
Right.
So, but I agree with you. It's important.
Just want to go ahead and chime in on this. Talking about everything that everybody's been discussing here, I agree with all of you guys. I just think that we've got the way that I'm seeing things, I'm seeing it a little bit different. The resolution that we currently have before us and again, I'm going to mention the one that's electronic and the one that we have on paper. This is the one that Commissioner Prue just gave us. I feel like one's a resolution and one is more like a letter. We can definitely write a letter with all these questions, like the one that we have here electronic, and it's going to answer questions that we have. I think a resolution is not something that you bring up to ask questions. It's more of a statement of, do you agree with this or not? I think that the resolution, just like Commissioner Ramsey said, it's very eloquent, but I think also that it gets more to the point. There's a lot of facts in here, things that are expressed throughout this resolution, the one that we have here on paper. It goes into detail about why we don't support it. Also, Commissioner Donnelly, you mentioned that we as a court, we don't have any jurisdiction over some of these areas that is described in here, and I agree with you. On this resolution, on this paper, I don't think there's anything on here that specifically states that we as a county say that you cannot do this. It says that we recommend, or it says that we do not support. And I think that's what we've been talking about. I do agree with you that the people have spoken. The way that I see things, again, I also represent over 30,000 people in this county, and a large portion of this railway comes through my precinct. The way that and this is me personally, the way that I represent things is as the people speak, I am their voice on this court. So for me, it's like we're speaking because we want you to do this. I haven't received to this day a single phone call in favor of what's going on. And I understand it's just transporting, and just reading over this, I mean, it's a 2-page document. Here at the very end, I like the way it says here. It says, be it resolved that the Midland County Commissioners Court does not support the transportation of high-level radioactive waste. So we're not telling anybody what to do. We're just basically stating that we are not in support of the transportation of high-level radioactive waste. One thing that I would recommend, that instead of it saying Midland County Commissioners Court, something to the effect where Midland County Commissioners Court and the citizens of Midland County, I definitely would encourage us to add that wording on there. Going back to this electronic portion, I mean, if we want to add those 5 points to something like this, I'd be very in favor of it, because then it would tackle the questions about, hey, this is what we're going to ask the federal government, but at the same time, we actually have a resolution that stands and saying that we're firm. I just don't want to sign a resolution that's kind of, just so we can sign one. And that's what I feel that this electronic one, again, this is my personal opinion.
The concern I've got is that I'm not, I want safe transportation, but I don't know that I'm against this, because once we start doing this, then we are expressing that we don't want nuclear in our area. And that means that all of our wireline companies, all of our logging companies probably need to be looked at by the county to see how safe they are. And I don't think that we have that kind of jurisdiction.
Well, I disagree with that, Commissioner.
When Halliburton lost that one logging tool, it was all panic. And, it concerns me about expanding the ideas about nuclear. And that's the concern I've got, because, to be honest, I couldn't run my business without logging. And I couldn't do some of the stuff that we do without logging tools.
Sure, and I understand.
So when I expand this, I mean, I need to know whether the citizens want us to ban everything.
Right.
I mean, is that what we're going after?
You know, and I can answer those questions for you right now. According to what we've got here, it does say WCS is spent nuclear fuel, and we're talking about transportation. And we're saying specifically WCS.
If their sale goes through, is this effective to the other company?
No, it goes in the trash.
And this is, and I'm glad you're bringing that up, Commissioner, because I am very upset with, we had the vice president of the company and many of their employers here. And we repeatedly asked them if they're a viable company and if they were going to be here for a long time. Back in November of 2016, they knew that they were going to be bought out. They knew that they were under investigation of the Department of Justice because they were wanting to get bought out. Not one time did anybody from WCS bring that up to our attention. We found this out after the fact. I'm a little concerned that, you know, we sit here and we're having these public meetings because all I want to know is what's going on. And it's very frustrating to be able to make the right decision when you know that people are here testifying and they know the facts and they're not releasing everything. It's more like, you know what, you go find out. I did talk to the gentleman that made that presentation. I think his last name is Mr. Ford. I did express to him after everything was done that, you know, I was very glad that he brought all the information. I had no idea that all that stuff that I thought it was very, very good, very well presented. And I expressed that to him. I mentioned to him that, man, none of that stuff was online. How are we supposed to find out what all is going on if even the information that they have, you can't find it anywhere? And then to come find out a couple of hours later, after I had that conversation with him, that they were about to be bought out. So I completely understand, Commissioner. I just think that we didn't get all the facts. We didn't. And we're still here. And the company, you know, we gave them an opportunity to give us all the facts, and they did not. And we saw it in the Midland paper. It's not anything new. We saw in the Midland paper where it talked about that now they're pulling back because they're having some situations. Well, it was never expressed in this courtroom, you know. And I just I'm very concerned about that because now it makes me very weary of what other things do they know that they're not telling us, because they weren't being straightforward from the last meeting that we had. So I'm very concerned. So this is the reason why I feel it's got to have teeth, because I have no idea what they're planning on doing.
I've been involved with a company in Albuquerque that is involved in the transportation of nuclear waste.
Sure.
And I don't see a problem with them transporting, because I think that the regulations that are used or prescribed for this stuff are significant enough that it would be safe, because of the experience that I've had, because we were moving stuff from Los Alamos to Whip. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't part of that company. I was just involved in the GIS on it. So I understand what they're doing.
Sure.
And feel that it's going to be, you know, that's why the resolution that was proposed in our materials is more important, because then we can justify the safety aspect of it once we get the information back. You know, the problem with either support or non-support is once you make that decision, I mean, you've reached a point where you're on record of doing that, regardless of what the information is that you get in the future. And that's my concern, is because...
Or the information that you don't get, right?
But the thing is, on the safety aspect,
Sure.
which is the main aspect, because
I agree.
If you're going against WCS, which is what you're saying here, then we're in the wrong business. The safety issue is the one that we're most concerned with in transportation through our county. And it concerns me because the stuff that I've seen coming out of Los Alamos is high-level nuclear waste.
Right.
And they've had no trouble in transportation. Now, Whip has had a problem, mm-hmm. but as far as the transportation, they have not. And I'm just of the opinion that you can't draw a line in the sand without, when this is a future situation. And that's what concerns me about drawing the line and then you have no teeth. So, you know, I understand what you're saying as far as wanting to support the citizens, my deal is that my experience has been that transportation is not the problem.
Right.
Let me, hearing the comments, let me go back and see if I can clarify a couple other things. No question that the majority of the people speaking and that have called are opposed to it. But we've got to recognize there are those that are in favor of it. So we are speaking through a resolution for the majority. The other, and this is a personal concern, Randy and I have discussed it. Personal concern is I try not, me personally, to ever speak more than what I know personally and can prove. I don't, that's just been my practice in working in DC and in Austin. The question I have that we've got to decide is there's no hearing of significance. This company is not going forward. There is no replacement company. There is going to be a discussion, multiple discussions, as I'm told, through the Atomic Energy Commission and our Department of Energy and their surrogates about what to do with spent fuel. Has it been determined? No. The only thing that seems to be alive, and we heard this at last court meeting, is a desire by the current administration to fund and complete Yucca Mountain. So, yes, while we're hearing all this, it was a proposal that was alive, and it was one of the routing, one of the two that I'm aware of, would come through Midland County. That proposal is not alive. If we just want to go on the record and state a position on nuclear waste, sure. If this court agrees by a majority to do more than that, fine. But I caution us to say things that we personally can't prove or don't know about. But I caution us also that we need to be engaged in the conversation that's going forward, whatever form that takes. If I may allude to something Luis correctly brought up, we didn't know the company was being bought. That was not part of the discussion. I think it might have been had we asked, but I kind of take that to my aggravation that I expressed earlier with the New World financial system. I was okay with that company, generally speaking. Those who use it say it's great, but it was being bought by Tyler, and we didn't know anything about it. Had I known that, I would have cast a vote against that software because of the history with Tyler. So there are indeed times that we don't get all those kind of bits of information. But I must admit I'm puzzled by how this will be used, or if it will be used, in light of the context of the discussion is much broader than a previous one company, one or two routing conversation that we knew about. So I don't know that that helps a bit, but that's kind of how I've looked at it.
I'm just waiting. Does anybody have any other comments on? Sorry, Judge. I feel like I'm taking your place here.
No.
I'm just curious to see if, because I would like to see something passed today. I mean, I think there's something that we do need to do. And Commissioner Don, I just want to, you mentioned that why are we focusing on this one company? Well, this is a company that we've been talking about, and this is a company that, that's where the discussion began. So
I would agree.
And that's the only reason why I brought up WCS. So that, and those that were in favor of it, I mean, the only people that I heard were all employees of WCS. And again, to this day, I still have not received any phone calls. And I have a list of numbers and people in my office that have called, and there's not a single person that's called in favor of transporting.
You've got Lauren also spoke.
Right, and she would be the only person, and so, yeah, I take that back.
She's not the only person. I've had calls in favor of just citizens, but.
He said to him.
Yeah, but I'm saying
to him.
myself.
No,
Yeah,
I would
myself,
agree.
Judge. The only person, and let me correct this, the only person that I have had, or that I've heard from was Lauren, and she is from Midland, other than employees from WCS. So, again, that's something definitely to look at for.
I would suggest we step back a minute and review, are we against the company who was an active applicant at the time, but is no longer? Or are we against the concept that may direct us? I thought we were hearing about nuclear waste coming through the community, period.
Right.
Whether it was Fruhoff or...
It's got to be the concept, because if they are eventually bought out, this is going to come back.
Well, it is.
But who does it, I mean, is really immaterial.
Okay. So it's the concept we're communicating now, all right? Excuse me. Do we communicate this concept to any forthcoming hearing just on what to do with spent rods? Because there's no application to be discussed right now. Up there. I'm only repeating what I've been told.
I don't know what the procedure is, again, I mean, because.
Well, I think the citizens spoke loud and clear. They're wanting us to have a resolution. And so I think whether the application is in or not doesn't matter anymore. I think that the resolution needs to occur, especially if because we're not talking about a specific company, right? We're talking about the idea. So it can always resurface.
Yeah.
And I think the concern is that.
What do you mean by resurface? Explain to me. If we do it now.
If another company buys out WCS and they still want to still bring in high-level nuclear waste through Midland County, so it's the concept. I mean, you yourself said it, right? We're against the idea, and it's not really just the company. So that's what I'm referring to, Commissioner. I mean, you mentioned.
If we do it now, I mean, you say resurface, I mean, would we have to do it again? Or is it just?
That would be up to that court at that time, but. And again, I'm leaning on experience of working up there in hearings and seeing what goes on. If you send something and it's a named person or company, if they're not in the conversation, that stuff's gone. It's destroyed. So you've done nothing.
Well, it has to be generic at this point.
If you deal with it on a generic basis, the government is obligated to hang on to it in some fashion for the duration. Does that always happen? No, I don't think it does at all.
So to Luis's point, then if it does just kind of find the trash can somewhere, you can always bring it back and.
You can always bring back
again.
anything, but I think our charge is if we're going to do something, number one, we find it not a moot point, okay? And we say we're going to do something. We need to express, in my view, we need to express what our citizens have told us in the majority. And they've expressed they don't want it coming through here. All that's pretty much in our hands. But when it gets up there and it's a discussion about what to do with spent fuel rods, that's not what we're having here. They're trying to craft and create a solution overall up there and where it goes. What we're just saying is we don't want it in Midland County. Do I think this is the solve all? No, I think knowing how DC works, they'll receive it. But whenever the next hearing comes up, they won't know anything about it. It's just.
But I feel that we've done our duty as commissioners, because if we opened up the discussion for people to come in, it's kind of like saying, well, they came, they discussed, and all right, let's move on. No, I think that we need to do something about the fact that they came in and they discussed and we've got to send out a message to say, hey, look, we're serious. We're coming in here, we're inviting you to come in to make comments, and we've taken your comments, and this is the This is what we've come up with. Of course, it's not going to be the most perfect thing. We can't do that. Again, we talk about limited jurisdiction. We know that. But I think that the most important thing is, I feel like the residents want to be heard and say, hey, look, we just don't want this coming through our county. And that's fine. Commissioner, like you said, if it's generic, that's fine with me as well. Just as long as
I prefer to do it now than have to go through this again.
I agree. But you'll probably have to go through it again.
Probably will.
That's from being new, folks. I'm the new guy.
I'm going to guess they won't even have any record of this, but the one thing that is a record, by the rules we operate, and Randy and I talked about this, these 5 questions, I think some of them got answered personally. He does too. But we have a motion that the court's going to adhere to by Commissioner Sanchez to put these in the document. So, unless there's a motion to retract it and we take them all out, but it's his motion, so it would have to be his motion to return. But go ahead.
I mean, I prefer what was sent out rather than trying to take a strong stance against a particular company. And, because I don't see a problem with the transportation.
Right.
And that's my concern is that.
And like I said before, Commissioner, I agree with you. I mean, the transportation is probably, let's say it's the safest that we've ever known. But you still have that one factor that concerns me, which is a human factor. And you cannot guarantee that. Nobody can guarantee that. And that's my biggest concern. And at the moment that unfortunate incident happens, that's when we're going to be lamenting the fact that, man, we should have done something about it. That's my concern.
You said something made me think.
You're okay with us raising up Fairgrounds Road in South Point?
Yeah, there you go, and you're okay with redoing Midkiff.
The thing is, the next conversation in D.C. is about what to do with them.
Right.
Where do they finally rest? Not how to get them there, because they don't have any applications, but what's the subject matter? And these are ongoing. They're going to have them, I think the guy told me twice a year, maybe. But whatever.
We don't know what they're going to do, Judge, but again,
no, we don't.
The best thing that we can do is, this is a community, and this is what the community wants to do, and whenever they make that decision, they can at least say, hey, look, in Midland, they don't want this going through their county.
That's why we have these options.
Right.
So, Scott, Robin, Randy, Louise? Okay.
Well, I would make the resolution the one that was sent out, and I would make that motion that we use that as the resolution.
Okay. You have a motion that the item included in the packet, which is against nuclear waste transportation through Midland County. Is that correct?
Well, it's the majority of citizens testifying before the Commissioners Court expressly do not want.
Yeah, it deals with Midland County and the transportation. That was the one.
Right.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second that motion.
A second. Is there any more discussion on the motion?
I will just add again, I'll repeat something I said earlier.
Commissioner Briggs.
I believe this motion says substantially a lot of things that need to be said, and I believe that the citizens that testified would be happy that we did this. I would just add that I also happen to agree with what they said. This motion is not quite as strong as I would like.
I agree.
But it's, and if this thing does come forth again, if I ever think that there's any chance that all the nuclear spent waste from this entire nation is going to be dumped in West Texas, I'll be 10 times more vociferous than I've been in the past. Because that is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
That is a horrible idea. And I've talked with some of my armaments experts from the U.S. military, and he has given me about a dozen ways that somebody could sabotage this. It hadn't been sabotaged in the past. It's been safe in the past, I agree. And I have used, by the way, I've used nuclear energy and logging and fracking since 1974, so I'm absolutely not opposed to nuclear energy or any of the things that are done in our business. But so with that being said, I will be glad to add my vote to this resolution.
Okay, Commissioner Prude, you did bring up the other item we talked about. Thank you. And that was those members of the court that have different views, stronger views, or want to say something else, please understand, in your capacity as a commissioner, you can write on your county letterhead whatever you care to, and also provide your own comments.
Sure, true.
As you can on anything.
I would also, and I'll add one more thing, the citizens that took their time to come and testify in court, both with WCS and anybody else in this room, as well as those that appeared in our last two meetings, I really feel proud of our government. When you look around what's going on in the world today and the people that can't speak their minds all over this world, we are blessed, and I'm glad, and even when we have different degrees of concern,
Keep taking, no, because they're going to take it.
we are blessed that we have what we have today, Commissioners Court that can speak openly, and I may be saying something that's just ad hominem or unnecessary to say, but I will say I'm proud of our nation that we can still have a free discussion. Because today we're having some pretty horrible things happen in this world that don't have freedom. And anyway, with that being said, that's all I have.
All right, any more discussion? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor, properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you very much. We have one executive session item, and that is...
Excuse me, Judge. I'm sorry, could you recall number 5?
Yes, I can. You'd probably like to go somewhere, wouldn't you? Let's recall number 5, and that's discuss, take action on finding a funding source for travel funds for district clerk, county clerk to travel to Dallas and visit co-file facilities, and we approved the concept, but we needed the money.
Okay, so Stacy got back to me and she found out the government rate for the hotel is $167.90, and for 6 rooms, so that'd be $1,007.40. And then Teresa Dyer that helps with travel, she could get the 7 flights for $3,626.
Okay, so $5,000.
Yes, sir.
Because you need some food money.
Yes, sir.
Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the request is $5,000.
It's from contingency.
Contingency's the only place we got it.
I'd make the motion that we approve the travel and take $5,000 out of contingency for that.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion passes. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. We're going to call, yes?
Can I have me call number 30, please?
Sure. Step up. We will recall everything but 32, so. I think we're all tired on that one. 30, discuss take action on record preservation for justice of the peace. Yes, ma'am.
I did a little research while you guys, in regards to records preservation funds. Now, the JPs are not allowed to collect money for records preservation. We don't have a records preservation fund, but the court does, the courts, the county courts at law, and the district courts are all allowed to collect money, $25 specifically. $250 goes to those specific courts, and $22.50 actually goes to the county courts in general. We do have a county courts fund. Fortunately, we have fund balance in there of $193,000. Unfortunately, it's not budgeted for, therefore we cannot use it.
Okay, then that's the question. When Kobo said they have an account, that's the account he's talking about, which is for all the courts.
I had emailed Judge Kobos asking him just to make sure, because I know he's on the legislative board and such, and he indicated that the JPs don't have any money and cannot.
No, but when
this
he
is for
said
records
the court
preservation.
preservation funds, that
Yes, sir.
had to be the account.
Yes, sir.
But he didn't, or they as a group didn't budget for it.
Yeah, the court didn't budget for it, yes.
Okay.
From that?
No, sir, we cannot.
So
We have to
Veronica-
budget it through the budget process. We can use it for next year.
That's what I was gonna
And it has
ask.
an $195,000. We just unfortunately can't use it for the current year because it's not budgeted for.
Okay. Then
That $60,000 going to be spent in the current year?
Yes.
Yes, that's what the judge is wanting, so.
We can reimburse that particular fund out of... Next year out of that?
Yes.
Or is that only future
As long as you
expenditures?
budget for it, you can move that. Well,
Yeah.
I will.
From one year to the next, I thought we couldn't do that.
Yeah,
thought you
I
could
will do
spend
the
money in
research
1
on it
year.
if, the court, well, and you're needing to spend it anyways for other preservations for the court system.
Yes.
Unless you guys also want to wait and do it for next year. I mean, that's another thing. We just cannot use those funds currently, and those are restricted funds, so we really can't be transferring those funds out to the general fund or anything of such. So,
I would, for this purpose, now that you found it, that explains what David was telling me.
okay,
There's no money because they didn't budget it.
Correct.
They all share in it. Okay.
yeah, and then this is a shared, and that the Commissioners Court is in charge of and doing the budgeting because it's for all courts.
Okay.
So you can use it, the reason I say that is because you can use it for any of the courts.
Okay, but the court, it's a court decision whether to spend the 60 this year or not. Here's what's behind that conversation then, in light of what you just said. We have a proposal that's a long-term proposal that we can act upon this year, this budget year.
Okay.
And that locks in our pricing for a couple of years, kind of like we did on the road thing. I don't know that that pricing holds if we wait to trigger anything next year. And secondly, remember, we are still at the whims of the Office of Court Administration that's got stuff alive at the legislature about taking some of our.
And what we could do is if we start the project, of course, they're only going to charge us for what's incurred in the current year, and then whatever is not finished, and if you're going to be expanding this project over a couple of years or so, is the remainder is to take it out of that court records preservation fund.
But
According to the contract,
Yeah.
the amount, the 60,000 is good enough for 90 days. So from February 24th up until May 24th, I believe. Then after that, if you want to hold off, it's an increase of possibly, it says 5%.
Yeah.
To renew it for another 90 days.
Yep.
And so again, and it says possibly is the most that they can increase it by 5%. So even if we do wait to the new budget year, the amount is not going to be very significant. So I think I would.
Go ahead.
I would much rather wait because you've got $190,000. The fees that we're collecting are specifically for this, what we are talking about.
Correct.
I don't see a need for us to have to go out into another account to take the money out if we know that that money exists. I mean, we've been holding off for this long. I'm pretty sure 6 months isn't going to make much of a difference.
I would agree with the commissioner on the fee increase is not much. I think the bigger threat is what we've already seen happen is that the Office of Court Administrations gets a next step in the central records, and then the fee we're talking about will go to them, not us.
And I haven't seen the contract, so I don't know as far as like when, if it's an upfront fee, most of the time, those are,
it's
as it progresses, they charge us, so we spend some of that money.
It's just for the estimate, and it says that this estimate could increase by 5%.
It's a proposal, there's not. Okay.
I don't know, Christie, you might, I guess you have something to.
Step up, Christie.
I believe that, I just glanced at it just a little while ago, and it is on the text mass contracts. Those contracts follow the state calendar, so those are good from September to August.
Oh, okay, wow.
But Commissioner Sanchez is correct. The way it's written, it addresses the opportunity for it to go up in spite of the state contract by the scope.
Right, I understand that, but if they don't win the bid in August, they might not have that contract in September for us to be able to start in October, still using that contract number.
I mean,
Then we would have to go out for bid on over 60.
The threat's not so much with COFILE as it is with our state legislature.
Yeah.
But if you want to recall it, we certainly can.
I'd like to recall it and just wait. I mean, we've only got 6 months left, and
We've got a request. Let me find it over here. It's 30. Let's recall 30. Discuss, take action on record preservation for justice of the peace. Commissioner Sanchez.
I'd like to recall that item and wait until the new budget year so it can be budgeted and taken out of is it called the District Courts Preservation Fund, or what's the correct word?
Courts Preservation Fund.
I'm sorry, the county preservation fund, effective the first day of our new budget cycle, which would be October 1st, 2017.
Okay. But first of all, who made the motion approving that?
I think I probably did.
That was Commissioner Donnelly and seconded by Commissioner Sanchez.
You've heard discussion. Do you want to withdraw your motion?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Who had the second?
I did.
All right, you have the second. You agree to withdraw it?
Absolutely.
All right, so what we previously voted on is mute. Now, we have a new motion, which Commissioner Sanchez just made,
And I'll
right?
second.
Right.
And Commissioner Donnelly seconds in that case, and that's to hold it till the new budget year. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Now, Mike, before we leave it all together, though, I
Yes.
have a technical question. So, Russell, the statement was just made that since it wasn't budgeted, we can't take it out of that, but let's say we had decided to use contingency fees, we could. Is that just because that's part of the law, that you cannot, that you can take something that's unbudgeted out of contingency, but you cannot take it out of another?
Exactly, because funds that are in the, money that's in the contingency fund is money that's been budgeted, so you can take it out of that. But money that's in a special fund like that, you have to be able to use it during the year, you have to actually adopt a budget for it.
Okay, and I just asked because in my mind, it technically is a contingency fund also.
Right.
Except it did not actually get budgeted to be spent
Okay,
this year.
but you know what I mean, because it is.
Right.
Okay.
Except we got an auditor that goes by the rules.
Good job, auditor.
Okay, that completes regular business, so we need to go to executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, to consult with county attorney regarding pending prospective litigation and other matters. If you'll excuse us, I don't think this is going to take but just a couple of minutes. So with that, we'll go into executive session. We're out of executive session, and it's 11:55. Ross, did you need an item to recall?
Bailey was saying.
Number 5.
Number 5.
We approved. How many of his people?
2.
2.
Plus Ross?
No, it
Plus
was
Ross.
3. So 3.
Yeah.
Counting Ross.
Okay, I had one more.
Oh, I thought you had 2.
So Stacy told me to bring each one from my, I have my chief deputy, 2 assistant chiefs, and the lead.
Okay. And for clarification, Stacy is the ladies.
I'm sorry, with co-file, yes, sir.
All right, so let's recall item 5.
4 and me, yes.
Just a minute.
We're adding 2 people.
Discuss take action on finding funding source for travel funds for the district clerk, county clerk to travel to Dallas and then visit co-file facilities. Ross?
Yes, Your Honor. We were invited by co-file to come down and see. We've had some books that have been redone, and they're gorgeous. And Miss Stacy Contessa, the Cortisano, asked me to bring my lead clerk, our chief deputy, 2 assistant chiefs, and the lead clerk.
So we were short 1 on our approval.
2, and me.
Do you have money in your travel budget?
I can, if that's what you want me to do, I'll move something.
Well, I think what we'd like for you to do is the court awarded some money.
Oh, okay.
$1. If it exceeds that, we would ask you to pay your travel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no idea what.
That's a suggestion. The court.
I don't know what we're purchasing with this money, because they're putting us up in.
No, sir, we can't.
No, we're not taking anything from them.
Oh, we're not?
Paying our own hotel, and it's just travel.
Oh, okay. They said they were going to put us up, so I didn't know.
The county attorney ruled against that idea. So, okay.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Keep us out of trouble, Ross.
Okay.
Dad.
Well, we'd have to figure out the costs again. Let's just let him take it out of his budget if he needs more for training and education.
You want to do it.
Why don't we just do that instead of, because we had to get her to give money for the first 2.
Like I said,
we got 3 out of 5. If you can take care of the other 2, we'd appreciate it.
I just was told that they were going to fly us, pick us up, feed us, show us, send us home. So I didn't know anything else.
Is there a motion? There's not?
Because he can do it out of his budget.
No, but we got to authorize the other party.
It's going to Dallas, isn't it?
Yeah, but.
In state.
We're communicating to you that it's okay to take the other.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understand. I got you. And then whenever we get the bill, we'll figure out what the difference is, and I'll submit it.
All right. So the action previously stands. We just added 1 person from Ross's.
Yep.
2 people from Ross's.
Keep trying.
I'm going to stay here. I'm not going. I'm staying here.
First.
Yeah. All right.
Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Is there any executive session items, action? Hearing none, is there a motion?
To adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.